The 2020 NFL Draft is here. Hello, everybody. This is Dave Berk of First Star Football Report. Joe Burrow expects to have his name called first overall when Roger Goodell starts the NFL Draft virtually on Thursday evening. But there's some other Buckeye natives people should be watching for. We're going to look at some of those guys after this message from our sponsor, First Star Logistics.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
And we're back. Again, thank you to First Star Logistics for all they do for us at First Star Football Report. And let's get to it. We've talked about it. Joe Burrow, it's been talked about now for months. The Bengals will take Joe Burrow with the first pick overall of the 2020 NFL Draft, and for good reason. The former Athens, Ohio high school prospect, he's left nothing to doubt when you look at his body of work over the past year. Recently, I was reading an article on Cleveland.com that was looking at some of the players from the state of Ohio who have gone on and had really good college careers that are hoping to hear their name called. And when you look at this article, you know, they talk about Joe Burrow. I've had the chance to watch Joe Burrow develop his career from high school. My good friend Scott Reed and I, we made the trip to watch a high school playoff game that Joe was in against Marion Franklin, and came away super impressed. In fact, when I left, I told Scott and I told anybody that listened, Joe Burrow was the best high school quarterback I had evaluated in all the years that I worked at scout.com. And that says a lot because I saw a lot of great quarterbacks during the years, including guys like Braxton Miller, who were kind of robbed of their opportunity to be a quarterback because of injury. But Joe Burrow fought through those injuries at Ohio State, transferred as a graduate, transferred to LSU. And after, a season that he learned a lot at LSU, came for his final year and just tore it up. There's no if, ands, buts about it. Joe Burrow was the best player in college football last season. Heisman Trophy winner, national champion. And you're looking at, I've had the chance to see this development when he was a junior, senior in high school. And anyone who had the chance to see Joe Burrow play his senior season, especially the state championship game that Athens lost, they came away impressed. A lot of people doubt Joe Burrow still today. And I can tell you from my dealings with Joe Burrow, he's just going to feed off that because that is the type of young man he is. When those people are doubting, he's just going to work and he's going to work and he's going to work. And that's the reason he ended up doing what he did this past season. He has the mentality to be great. Now, the question is, can he stay healthy? And does he get a supporting cast around him that helps him become and take the Bengals to a championship, something Bengal fans are still waiting for, to get, 2 Super Bowls over the history of the franchise? They won a Super Bowl champion. Joe Burrow could be the guy that can do it. He has all the tools. What I saw when he was a junior in high school is still true today. He has the moxie. Even in high school, he was doing progression reads. He's more athletic than people give him credit. He also played in the defensive secondary in high school, so he has more of an athletic ability than just being a quarterback. He was an athlete. And he went on and he proved that what he did this past season at LSU. He had a lot of weapons with him at LSU, but he's going to have some weapons, I think, with the Bengals as well, especially if they do a good job in this draft and depending on what they do with guys like Joe Mixon and A.J. Green. But all the tools are there for Joe Burrow to be very successful at the NFL level. Now, I want to talk about some other guys as well. So we're not going to just limit it to Joe Burrow. Who are some of the other names to be looking at? And, the one name that comes to mind is a young man in high school who was just dynamic with the ball in his hands. And I'm talking about Lynn Bowden out of Kentucky. This young man, what he did this past year, very impressive because he's not a quarterback. but he ended up doing a lot of play at quarterback. And someone's going to take a flyer on this guy, and he's going to be able to do a lot of stuff. Either, what's he going to do? He's going to be a receiver. Is he going to be, put in? Maybe someone NFL does some stuff with a wildcat, but this guy can do it all. You're talking about a guy who can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He can make plays. And that's what I expect him to do at the next level. And I expect big things out of Lynn Bowden. He's always been a great athlete. Originally, one time, was going to go to Michigan State University, and Vince Marrow did a great job recruiting him and getting him to flip to Kentucky. And he left there with a great career. And you're looking at a young man who just really has a lot of potential at that next level to use his athletic ability, depending on how they put him in. And, I'm excited to see what he does. Another young man I had a chance to watch in high school that I really liked was Markus Bailey, who ended up going from Hilliard-Davidson to Purdue University. Now, Markus may not be a guy who gets drafted. He might be a guy who's a free agent coming off an injury, an ACL injury. He did go to the combine, only did the bench press, but you're looking at a young man who he's a lunch pail guy. He's tough. He is going to be one of those guys that is going to have to use special teams, but he's going to have to be healthy. And depending on where he's at in his physical rehab is going to be important. And I'm sure teams have done their homework on what they're going to do. Does he slide into a late round pick, or does he go as a free agent? It's hard to say. Probably more as a free agent, but he's a young man. You never bet against a young man like a Markus Bailey, just a great young man off the field as well. And, a kid, like I said, I had the chance to cover him at high school when I was at scout.com. And just, he had a big game his junior year when the Boilermakers knocked off Ohio State. Very memorable. I traded some messages with him after that win, and he was just so excited. And it was sad to see that the injury kind of sidelined him during his senior season. Another guy, lunch pail guy we want to talk about, had a chance to follow him during his college career, Joe Bachie. And he's one of those guys that Mark D'Antonio made a career out of. Was projected more as a Mid-American Conference guy, brought him in and did, just developed him. And he was originally committed to a Mid-American Conference school, and then D'Antonio and his staff came in with an offer, and he flipped in a heartbeat. And he went on, he towards the end there, he had some issues that kept him out towards the end of the season. But you're looking at a guy who's another lunch pail guy, probably a 7th round to an undrafted free agent. But he does a lot of different things. Ran well, 4.6, 740, and did 26 reps on the bench press. So he's got some stuff that a lot of film to be watched by NFL guys, and that's going to be a key in some of this year's draft because some guys didn't get to have their pro days. Some did virtual pro days, and depending on NFL scouting departments, how involved did they get when they did their campus visits in August? And then through the college season and in their game evals that they go on Saturdays and watch these guys play. So we'll see where he ends up in the process. But another lunch pail type guy, works hard. Don't doubt him. We're going to look at some more guys here that I think, deserve a little bit more talk. And this is another kid who I had the chance to watch locally in the Centerville, Dayton, Ohio area. Chris Finke went on from Kettering Alder High School to Notre Dame as a walk-on. This was a young man who I told colleges about. I said, this is a guy you should be getting. 5'9", 180, 190 pounds in that range. But in high school, he could dunk a basketball. And I'm not talking about a running dunk. I'm talking about flat-footed, going up and dunking the basketball. So he had great vertical leap, and he proved that at the combine when he had a 40-inch vertical. But he also backed it up with a 4.57 40. And he's just one of those guys who just, we start talking about guys like Julian Edelman and so forth. This is the type of guy who ends up having that type of NFL career if he finds the right place to go to in the draft. So it's going to be interesting to see, does he get drafted? Does he go free agent? He's a guy who's always just been able to make plays, undervalued in my opinion, as far as a player coming out of high school. And thank goodness the Fighting Irish were recruiting Nick Coleman. They signed Nick Coleman. At the same time, we were able to get Chris Finke as a preferred walk-on. He quickly earned a scholarship, and the rest is history. We're going to go scroll on down. Another young man that I had a chance to watch his high school career quite a bit. And I'm interested to see what happens here because he doesn't fit the mold. And I'm talking about Robert B.B. Landers out of Huber Heights, Wayne, and Ohio State. A young man, they list him at 6'1", 285. Will height be a matter? Because this young man has one of the best first steps that I've covered in 20 years. And you're talking about, when I sit there and think of that quick first step, two guys that come to mind, Terrell Bird, Jarrell Worthy, both out Southwest Ohio. Bird did not get his opportunity, and a lot of people used his height. They list Landers at 6'1". Be interesting to see, Bird was under that. Worthy was taller. Worthy was a second-round pick of Green Bay. But they had the same type of steps. And when you talk about, what he did, he can get behind the line of scrimmage and make plays. And the question is, does someone see that in him and take a flyer on him in this draft, or do they look and try to get him as a undrafted free agent? Because he's just a player, and that's what he likes to do. And a great young man off the field as well. Had a lot of hardship growing up, but he fought through it. And the Buckeyes didn't come in. This is not a young man who was highly recruited. I was very high on him, pushed early on for him to become a 4-star guy on scout.com. It took a while for that to happen, but it did eventually happen. But he originally committed to West Virginia, was going to be a Mountaineer. And then the Wayne Warriors had a great run during his senior year in the playoffs. They ended up going to the state championship game, losing to Lakewood St. Ed. But after that, as the college coaches started making their rounds to schools, every place they went who played against Robert Landers, especially in the playoffs, especially the Buckeye coaches, they were told about how they couldn't stop Landers. And the Buckeyes came in. Luke Fickell came in, who was coaching at Ohio State then, and they ended up bringing him in on a visit. Basically did a in-school visit on a Friday morning, and he was on his official Friday night. And the rest is history. He became a Buckeye and leaves with a very good career. Fought some injuries this past year, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the draft for Robert. As I said, great young man, great family. Brother just finished his career at UD, the University of Dayton, in basketball as well. And I thought his brother should be a football player as well, but it is what it is. Another young man, Southwest Ohio again, had a chance to watch Josiah Scott, Fairfield High School. Somewhere along my Twitter feed, you will find, back before Josiah even got to college, I had put out a tweet that Josiah Scott was the most underrated prospect in Ohio. And I said that because this kid grew up in football. Older brothers have played football at different levels of the college ranks. Some played some pro ball. But this young man he understands the game of football, and he has a lot of athletic ability. And right now, I think a lot of people see him being a guy who's going to be a 3rd round, 4th round pick. Can he sneak into the 2nd round? It all depends on the eye of the beholder and how the draft lays out, and if there's a run in the secondary and so forth. But went on to Michigan State out of Fairfield, was a guy, 5'10", and people, always looking for those taller corners, but he wasn't that. But he went, and as a true freshman, big time plays, freshman All-American honors, and then leaves early. Still had a year of eligibility left. Earned 2nd team All Big Ten. Started 13 games last season. 55 tackles, 3 interceptions, 8 pass breakups. And then he turned around and ran a 4.42 40 at the combine. Pressed 17 times at 225. For a guy that's 5'10", 170, that's doing a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see who ends up taking Josiah Scott, because he has a lot of ability. And I think he's going to continue to show that he's just a football player. He understands the game of football. Now, we talk about sleepers. Here's one that I had the chance to watch during the 1 year of high school football he played. Ahmad Wagner was a wide receiver. He was a basketball guy at Huber Heights, Wayne, and ended up signing with Iowa to play basketball. And I told him in high school, Ahmad, you would be an NFL guy as a wide receiver, could grow into a tight end now. He's, listed 6'5", 234, but he has a lot of natural ability. And I feel if he would have played multiple years of high school football with his athletic ability and focused on football, he probably would have been Ohio's top player in the class. And if you go to our First Star Football Report YouTube page, there's a video that I shot during his senior year against Springfield High School with a one-handed catch. And then those who saw Wayne play Lakewood St. Ed in that state championship game, they'll remember what he did in that game. He had a big game with a kick return for a touchdown, I believe another touchdown reception. The thing is, you look at his stats and you're going to say, 15 receptions, 250 some yards, couple touchdowns, didn't do a lot. But keep in mind, we're going to talk about Lynn Bowden and what happened there with Lynn Bowden being put into playing quarterback for the Wildcats. And that was more of a running quarterback, not a throwing quarterback. So his numbers, if they wouldn't have had the issues at quarterback, his numbers probably be a lot better and probably get more talk. I think this young man should be drafted, and I think he'll make a roster. And he has a chance to do a lot of great things if he's in shape. Like I said, maybe he's that guy who grows into a flex type tight end at the NFL level because he's got great physical abilities. Again, we're talking about guys from the state of Ohio waiting to hear their name and get that phone call from an NFL team, changing their life, give them a chance to have a career in the professional level. We talked about a bunch of different guys, and, another guy that I had a chance to watch in high school and in college, Michael Warren, running back out of Toledo Central Catholic. He was Mr. Football in 2016, went on to the University of Cincinnati, had a great career for the Bearcats, multiple 1,000-yard rushing years, coming off a big year. And as we know, running backs, only so many carries that are in that body. He's one of those guys, 5'11", 220, workhorse back. I'm interested to see what happens with him. And, he's one of those guys. He's just been a winner, and he just makes plays. And he has a chance to take his game to the next level, and we'll see what happens with Michael Warren. Looking to see here if there's anyone else I want to talk about in this thing I can bring up. There's not. There's some other guys to be watching for as well. I think there's close to 20, 30 guys from the state of Ohio in the draft. One guy to keep, another sleeper. I had a chance to go down to Miami, Ohio's Pro Day. Maurice Thomas, originally from Talawanda High School. Young man I had a chance to watch develop. Had a great pro day. Killed it. I mean, and you're talking about 4.4 40, 4.3 40, somewhere there in there. Had 11-foot broad jump. Had a 32, 33, 34 something vertical jump. Had a great shuttle. Did basically anything and everything that the NFL scouts at that pro day wanted him to do. And he could be a sleeper. Now, the thing is, production. We look at production at the college level. What did he do? He was kind of a guy without a position. He was a little bit of a running back, a slot. His biggest thing he did was return kicks. And he had great success doing that for the Red Hawks and Chuck Martin. And he's going to be one of those guys because he tested and he had a chance to have his pro day, that pro day may help him. Maybe sneaks into the draft. I know no one's talking about him, but he may sneak into the draft and find himself, with a legitimate chance to make a roster. But he's a guy who could still be a guy brought in as an undrafted free agent, put on practice squad, see if he can develop some more of his skill set. But he has solid hands. Again, a return specialist at the NFL. Those guys, if you can find one that's special, they can have a career. And he might be one of those guys to watch. So again, I'm Dave Berk, First Star Football Report. We're talking 2020 NFL Draft. It's here. Let all the talk be put aside. Hopefully, your team gets the player that you want them to have. And congratulations to all those guys who get drafted and have a chance. And we want to thank our sponsor again, First Star Logistics. For more information, go to firststarlogistics.com. And for more on some of the top high school prospects right now, go to firststarfootballreport.com.